All right. In honor of GTA 6.
We got a Florida one for you, folks. I think we might end up going through every state in America eventually.
I feel like we're on like a Route 66 road trip right now.
Haunted road trip ride. It's fun.
I love that.
I'm liking it.
We should do that in real life.
We should do that in real life. You guys, you know what? Set up a Patreon for us and get your dollars in.
Yeah, if you want to see it, figure it out.
We start off with a haunted lighthouse. The St. Augustine Lighthouse has been standing tall since the 1800s, and it has quite a creepy reputation. There have been a number of strange occurrences and incidents here throughout its history. One of its earliest keepers, Peter Rasmussen, loved his cigars, and some folks claim they can still catch a whiff of his favorite scent lingering around the lighthouse. Then there's another keeper, Joseph Andrew. People will catch glimpses of him looking down from the top of the tower. The thing is, though, he died over 100 years ago. He died after he fell while painting the tower. The most haunted tale, though, is that of the Pitti sisters, Mary and Eliza. They'd been playing in a cart used to carry materials back and forth to the lighthouse, but it broke loose, sending them tumbling into the water. Even after 150 years, there are reports of giggling and playful laughter echoing from the tower late at night, believed to be the spirits of the young girls. Some even claim to have spotted them floating around the bay.
Step into the Florida Theater in Jacksonville, Florida, and you might feel the lingering echo of its past. A past that doesn't just sleep when the lights dim. Built on the grounds of an old police station in 1926 and opening its doors in 1927, this historic venue carries whispers of its earlier days. Visitors and staff share unsettling stories of strange shadows flitting across the balcony and mysterious shapes that show up in photos as if someone or something refuses to be forgotten. Most chilling of all are the rumors swirling around the ghost of an old projectionist whose spirit is said to still wander the halls long after the final credits have rolled. Despite the efforts of paranormal experts who came to debunk these ghostly claims, they instead left with more questions than answers, having encountered eerie phenomena that suggest something truly unworldly haunts the Florida Theater. It's a place where the past doesn't just haunt, it holds court, making the theater not just a spot for a show, but a doorway to the mysterious and the unknown.
What I've learned doing these lists is that if you die in a movie theater, a park, a hospital, like your ghost, you're staying there for the rest of the time. You never hear like about a haunted laundromat or something like that. I don't know. Key West Cemetery, 100,000 or so corpses are buried here, all packed into the 19-acre space. The cemetery was built back in 1847 after a hurricane wreaked havoc on the island, and this cemetery has seen it all, from the tragic victims of that natural disaster, soldiers of the Spanish-American War. There's a whole lot of history here. Now, aside from all the ghosts that are said to roam around here, and there are a lot, this is also the cemetery at the center of one of the most insane, creepy tales in American history. This is the cemetery where Carl Tanzler dug up Elena Milagro Hoyos. He was obsessed with her, and after digging up her body, he tried to preserve her. He kept her in his home and would even sleep next to her. Yeah, creepy. But who are some of the ghosts that are said to lurk here? First, there's the Bahamian woman. Folks say she appears both day and night, and unlike ghosts that just vanish into thin air, this one is much more abrasive. She's pissed pretty much all of the time, but especially if she catches you disrespecting the graves. Sit on a tombstone, stomp across a plot, and she may show up. There's also the story of the young girl's voice. Visitors have told stories of wandering through the cemetery and when they suddenly hear a small voice calling out to them, and then they follow it. Only when they finally reach the source, they simply find the grave of a young girl.
I read that there's also a gravestone in there that says, "I told you I was sick." Which, I love that. Be petty even in death. Whatever. On a remote island within the Dry Tortugas, Fort Jefferson stands as quite the structure, as it was built from 16 million bricks. It's just a crazy fact. Originally constructed to protect and guide ships navigating the treacherous waters of the Florida Straits into the Gulf of Mexico, this massive fort has morphed through history from a vital military stronghold to a shadowy, haunted relic. As the Civil War raged, the fortress transformed into a grim prison housing Confederate captives, sealing its fate as a site steeped in dark tales and tragic events. Today, Fort Jefferson is not only a major tourist draw, but also a reputed epicenter of ghostly encounters. Imagine a place where every conceivable horror has occurred, including executions, people eating, deadly disease outbreaks, you name it, this place has seen it. It's said that inmates turned on each other with makeshift weapons, and the surrounding waters claimed the lives of those trying to escape. Among its notorious residents was Dr. Mudd, the physician whose legend says treated President Lincoln's assassin. Imprisoned at Fort Jefferson, he became a pivotal figure during a virus outbreak that claimed 38 lives. His medical interventions spared many more, and today paranormal enthusiasts and skeptical reporters flock to the fort, some armed with photos they claim capture spectral glares, potential proof of the supernatural.
The most haunted building in Tampa is said to be the Cuban Club. This place isn't just famous for like one or even a handful of ghosts. Some say there are hundreds, which is too many ghosts. The Cuban Club was built in 1917 as a social services organization for Cuban immigrants, hence the name. There was all sorts of stuff here. There was a bowling alley, a spa, restaurant, a swimming pool, even a theater, and that theater is where our first ghostly tale begins. An actor took his own life on stage sometime in the 20s. He'd forgotten his lines, and this was just the last straw. He ended it right there. I don't know how exactly. There's probably very different versions of the story, but point is he died. Now some say his spirit still hangs around the theater, unable to move on. Then there's Little Jimmy, the ghost of a boy who drowned in the club's swimming pool. His spirit is said to mess with flashlights and appear in photographs taken when the club is empty. And there are a number of other nameless ghosts. Some say there's the energy of two former board members who had a falling out, with one firing at the other in anger. Sometimes the pianos are also said to play by themselves, and there's the ghostly spirit of a woman in a white dress who wanders the halls. One staff member told a story about a woman visiting the building, having been so frightened at the sight of her that she fell to her knees crying.
Nestled in the heart of Florida, a stretch of Interstate 4 harbors a chilling secret that might just make your GPS falter and your headlights flicker. Known as the Dead Zone, this haunted highway is steeped in ghostly tales that date back to the days when pioneer spirits roamed the land. Locals whisper about electronic blackouts and strange voices that crackle through car radios as they drive through this mysterious section of road. I don't know, I've never really heard about like a specific, I think we've done top 10 haunted roads in the past, but I don't know if we've done top 10 haunted specific sections of roads. I don't know, maybe that's an idea. The origins of the Dead Zone trace back to a tragic past involving a group of Swedish settlers who met their untimely demise due to an epidemic before the turn of the 19th century. These settlers were laid to rest right where they fell, and a local farmer later acquired the land, farming respectfully around the graves, never disturbing the final resting place of these souls. What a nice man. However, the serenity of this site was disrupted in the 1950s when the farmer's widow sold the land to the state, paving way for Interstate 4 to be constructed directly over this sacred burial site. Today, some believe that these restless spirits of the pioneers are expressing their displeasure by meddling with the very fabric of reality along this segment of the highway. It's no wonder that the area has become notorious for its spooky occurrences, from unexplained accidents to bone-chilling sounds emanating from nowhere. So next time you're driving down the I-4 and your radio starts to hiss or your dashboard lights start to dance, remember that you might just be passing through the dead zone, where the past is anything but forgotten. So that's just nice for your little road trip. You're just having snacks with your family, listening to the radio, and you're like, oh, we're driving over somebody's burial site. How sad. Pour one out.
Estero Village is home to Koreshan State Park, an incredibly lovely area that is also said to be the home of some spirits. But these are particularly interesting ones. They're the ghosts of a former cult. Now, the park was the site of the Koreshan Unity, a commune founded by Cyrus Teed, who proclaimed himself as the Messiah in the late 1800s. Teed and his followers settled here in 1894. When Teed died in 1908, though, his followers loaded him up into a bathtub while they awaited his resurrection. Well, weeks went by, and he hadn't come back to life yet, and his decomposing corpse was getting so bad that the health department stepped in and forced them to get rid of it. But legend has it that the spirits of Teed and his devoted followers still wander the park, watching over their land. It's an absolutely beautiful spot by day, but it's said to take on a different vibe after sunset. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures walking along the trails only to vanish into thin air. Others report hearing unexplained voices echoing through the buildings, and then there are the mysterious orbs of light that have been spotted floating in the darkness.
Found in St. Augustine, Florida, and built in 1672, Castillo de San Marcos is a historic site that has switched hands from Spanish to British to American control, witnessing countless battles and echoing the tumultuous history of its time. Today, it serves as a museum, captivating tourists with not only its architectural grandeur, but also its eerie legends. Visitors often speak of sightings of fallen soldiers still patrolling the ancient walls as if guarding the fortress from long-gone enemies. Even more haunting are the tales of a tragic love triangle involving a Spanish colonel, a captain, and a woman whose spirits are said to roam the dungeons where their bodies were once found under very mysterious circumstances. This castle, with its dark past and spectral inhabitants, continues to be a beacon for those drawn to the unexplained and the supernatural.
Florida is even said to be the home of a haunted tree, often called the Devil's Tree, located in Oak Hammock Park. So back in the early 70s, a number of killings happened here, and they happened at the hands of the former sheriff's deputy of Martin County, Gerard John Schaefer. He'd buried two of his victims, Susan Place and Georgia Jessup, who he'd violated before killing, and then buried their bodies close to the tree. Now, Schaefer took the lives of at least 26 women. He'd lure them using his badge before driving them out to remote locations, usually tying them to trees before taking their lives. He was finally arrested and sentenced after two of his victims managed to escape. He was later killed in prison by a fellow inmate. Legend has it that the tree is now possessed. It's said that over the years there have been several attempts to cut down the tree, but something's always gone wrong. There are also stories about figures dressed in dark hooded cloaks performing satanic rituals near the tree at night. The stories about the Devil's Tree are so well known that in the early 90s, a local priest supposedly tried to perform an exorcism there to try and rid it of its dark energy.
Near Tampa, Florida, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge isn't just a stunning feat of engineering, it's a hotspot for creepy tales that might just give you goosebumps. Let's take it back to 1980, and amidst a foggy morning, a colossal freighter misjudges its path and slams into the bridge. The impact is catastrophic. Cars and even a Greyhound bus plunge into the icy depths below. But the eerie occurrences don't stop at this freak accident. Over the years, the bridge has become a grim sight where 200 unfortunate souls have met their end, leaping from its highest point. And if that's not enough to send a shiver down your spine, consider the whispers some have heard while crossing, or the shadowy figures seen wandering perilously close to the edge. Most unsettling of all are the tales of a phantom hitchhiker, a young woman who appears real enough to be given a ride across the bridge only to somehow vanish from the passenger seat without a trace.
Yeah, the Sunshine State, more like a haunted state.
Florida, giving us the Florida men and tales of hauntings.
Tales of terror and ghouls.
Yeah.
Well, we hope to go there very soon after you guys fund this big trip where we're going to visit every single location on these lists.
All right, well, we're going to go. I've been one of your hosts today, Olivia Kozlowski.
And I've been your host, James.
Bye.